Hey there, Bonnie Lowe here. I'm going to give you a little presentation about the top 7 job interview mistakes. These are the things you should avoid doing at your next interview. Mistake number 1, don't prepare. A lot of us think that we know ourselves so well, our past accomplishments, our experience, our knowledge, that we can just wing it during a job interview and answer the questions without having to anticipate them in advance, prepare answers, and practice those answers. Don't wing it. Always prepare in advance. Find out what you can about the company, the hiring manager, do your research, anticipate the likely questions based on the job description. Write out your answers, practice them, make sure they highlight your best accomplishments and not just your responsibilities. And again, just practice, 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 and you'll avoid this mistake. Mistake number 2, don't dress the part. Now, I know a lot of you are very creative individuals. You're good at color and makeup. But please, always dress the part for the interview. Don't show your creativity at your job interview. Always dress the part that you're hoping to get. And the best way to do that is to visit the company in advance of your interview, if possible, and see what the current employees are wearing. And then dress up a little bit better than that. Even if you think you'll be out in the field wearing jeans and boots during the job, if you get it, don't dress that way during the interview. The job interview is not the same as the job. Remember, you're trying to dress to impress. First impressions are very important, so don't be a clown. Get rid of the piercings, cover the tattoos, get a haircut, dress in a conservative business suit or sport jacket or dress. You know what I'm talking about. Just dress to impress, okay? Be very careful about that. Mistake number 3 is you don't communicate well. This can be verbal communication and written communication, like this poor kitty cat just doesn't know how to spell. So what you want to do is make sure you get somebody to proofread all of your written communication related to your job search. That includes obviously your resume, that's the most important thing, your cover letter, job application, anything you put in writing that the potential employer might see. Proofread it very carefully and give it to someone else to proofread. Someone who knows spelling and grammar, preferably. You want it to be perfect because, believe it or not, regardless of the type of job you're interviewing for, a lot of employers will just throw something in the trash if there's just one little typo. So be very careful about that. Then with your verbal communication, you need to speak clearly and don't be shy. You need to communicate well during the interview. Never answer a question with just a yes or a no. Always provide detail, but don't get carried away. Explain fully in answer to the question, and then if you're not sure if you've given them enough information, always ask, is that what you were looking for, or would you like additional information? And then they can tell you from there if they think the answer is sufficient. If so, they'll move on to the next question. The opposite of this is talking too much. You just don't know when to shut up. And sometimes an employer will test you on this. They'll ask you a question, and then after you answer the question, they won't say anything for a while, and you'll feel uncomfortable with that silence, and you'll be tempted to just start talking more to fill the silence, and you'll start saying too much. You might start get off the topic or something. You might say something you wish you hadn't because this is away from your prepared answers. So don't fall into the trap of talking too much. Don't get distracted. Don't get off the point. Remember, these job interviewers are trying to find out very specific information from you, and if you blab on too much, then the interview is going to go too long. They'll get impatient, and it's just not a good thing. So know when to shut up, okay? That's mistake number 4. Mistake number 5, we all love stories. Start with Once Upon a Time. Stories stick with us. They're easy to remember, and they make their point clearly. And that's what you want to do during a job interview. You want your answers to be remembered. and to make the point clearly. And the best way to do that is to tell a story. Don't just state the facts, okay? To tell a story, you want to start out by answering the question with the situation that's relevant to the question, what you did in response to the situation. For instance, if you had a particular challenge that you needed to overcome in your past job, you talk about the challenge, you talk about what you did to overcome the challenge, the tasks that you accomplished, the research you did, the teamwork you were involved in, and most specifically, the results that you achieved. Don't forget that. That's the most important part. So your story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. The end should always emphasize the ultimate results. And then if possible, you want to tie those stories into what you can perform on the job for the position you're interviewing right now. Okay, so remember to tell stories, and if you can make them interesting, do that, please. Okay, mistake number 6 is don't show discretion. And what I'm primarily talking about here is bad mouthing or trash talking your boss, whether it's a past boss or your current boss if you're still employed, or the company you work for or have worked for in the past. I know it's tempting to tell things that happened in the past where you were treated unfairly, or at least you feel it was unfairly, or your boss was a jerk, the company just didn't do things the right way. You want to vent, you want to explain how things happened in the past that you were not responsible for. It wasn't your fault. It was the idiot boss that you worked for, okay? Don't do that. Don't ever talk negatively about your boss or your company. People you're interviewing with don't know if you're telling the truth. They're going to suspect that you're a complainer or a whiner, and that you will talk negatively about them if they hire you. So don't do that. Always show discretion, okay? Mistake number 7 is don't follow up. You think that once the job interview is over, you just go home and wait for the phone to ring. And that's a big mistake. The first thing you need to do is send a thank you note or an email. It doesn't matter what media you use, just get it done quickly. Thank the interviewer. If there's more than one, send a separate thank you to each person involved. It's even a good idea to send a thank you to the HR person who set up the interview, or anybody else that you were in contact with who made the interview process easy for you. Just thank them for their involvement, okay? The other side of following up is you want to make sure that you contact the employer after the specified time that they've given you. Hopefully during the interview you ask them what are the next steps, and they've told you, oh, it might take about 2 weeks to make a decision. So then you would wait 2 weeks and then a couple of days, call the employer or the HR office and ask about the status of the job. So just follow up, send a thank you, and you'll be on your way to a better job. I hope these 7 tips have helped you. If you have any questions, you know where to contact me, either at bestcareerstrategies.com or bestinterviewstrategies.com. Thank you for listening.